Okay, so today's video is going to make a lot of Canadians and even our international reviewers pretty happy. I have two reports, one from CBC and one from Global, showing the success of the tourism season in Canada this year. It proves that our efforts to keep money in Canada worked. And not just that, our international friends are choosing Canada as well. So to all of you abroad who supported us this year, I thank you. Today's photo comes again from my mom. It's a perfect example of what thousands, if not millions of Canadians did this past summer. We traveled, but we kept our money right here at home. Thanks again, Mom, for sending this over. All right, let's get started.
Well, new numbers are out that show Canada's tourism sector set records this past summer. And the surge wasn't just in one or two places. More money was being spent by visitors to places across the country. So joining me now with more on all of this is CBC's Kyle Bax in Calgary. Kyle, tell us a little bit more about these numbers and what they say.
Arthi, what a summer. Record-breaking numbers about the amount of tourism spending in the country this past summer. So let's take a look at some of those numbers. So these are from Destination Canada, the national group, and it's specifically the amount of money from May to August the tourism sector was receiving in revenue, almost $60 billion. That's up 6% compared to last summer.
Well done, Canadians. And to all of our friends and allies around the world who joined in. No matter what the haters say, this boycott made a massive impact in the US economy. And to be clear, our government did not tell us to do this. We decided on our own that the United States no longer deserved our money. Back in the early days of my channel, which wasn't even that long ago, haters used to flood my comments saying that the Canadians don't have money to travel, that we're broke, or that our money wasn't even wanted. Well, fine, we listened. And now I've got the questions for the haters. How's that working out for you now?
Most of that money from Canadians deciding to travel within their own country. So domestic tourism spending about $45 billion. That's up 7% compared to last summer. And international numbers were still strong, specifically those travelers from overseas who chose to come to Canada, up almost 10%.
Sorry, I know I'm interrupting again, but I really do want to take a moment to thank our international viewers. So many of you have told me that you had plans to go visit the United States, but instead, you canceled those trips and decided to come to our country. It means a lot, and I really thank you. Not just for visiting Canada, but for also supporting us in the way that makes a difference.
And there are a lot of different reasons for why tourism numbers were so strong this summer. Experts point to big events like the G7 that was held in Alberta's Kananaskis country, and lots of different other events like sporting events and festivals. And of course, there still is this national pride where a lot of Canadians are choosing not to go to the United States or international, but to try to stay within Canada, explore different parts of this country. And so that national pride, it really comes through in these numbers. And some still do point to that strong and free pass that the federal government the federal government did announce, allowing free or discounted rates to national parks and national attractions like museums. And this impact was felt across the country. It wasn't just major cities or certain provinces, but most regions across the country saw their tourism numbers increase this summer. And the biggest growth, I should say, was actually in Atlantic Canada.
Which brings me to where my parents decided to vacation this year, right here in Canada, instead of going to the United States. So if they redirected their usual US trip to Eastern and Atlantic Canada, I have to wonder how many others did the same. From what my parents told me, everywhere they went was packed. Halifax, Peggy's Cove, Lunenburg, Quebec City, Montreal, Toronto, Niagara Falls. Pretty much every stop they went to was buzzing with travelers, and not just Canadians, but others from around the world. So I want to ask you, how many of you have changed your travel plans too? Whether you're Canadian or watching from another country, tell me in the comments where you were supposed to go in the US and where you decided to go instead. And if you can, give an approximate idea of how much the United States might have lost from your trip alone. And if your plans shifted somewhere else, like to Europe, Latin America, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, list those out too. Because if enough of you share your stories, I might make another video showing how much money the United States has already lost from our community alone.
And Arthi, one other number to pass along, how busy hotels were, specifically in August. National hotel occupancy was more than 80%, and that's the highest since 2014.
And, perhaps, Kyle, they'll have to count those numbers again following the World Series run, because we know that a lot of Canadians are descending on Toronto as we speak. But we've also known that the tensions have been high between Canada and the U.S., not just because of the World Series. So what did we see about American visitors coming to Canada?
Yeah, those numbers were absent from this new data that we're receiving today, and which is too bad, because that's an important part of the story, and so we are asking to get those numbers. At least for now, it was such a strong tourism summer that at least there wasn't a big impact there. From those I've spoken with in the tourism industry, they say, American visitors were still coming, just not as strong as we've seen in the past.
Now, they might not have the matching data for how many US citizens came to Canada. We can pretty much figure out why those numbers are lower this year on our own. There have been hundreds of US citizens saying that they've normally traveled to Canada or even overseas, but this year they're worried what might happen when they actually go back home. People living in the US on green cards or visas, or who are legally allowed to be there, don't even want to take the risk at the border. And hell, even naturalized US citizens are starting to feel uneasy. That's one major reason. The second one is cost of living. It's gotten so high in the US that a lot of people just can't travel anymore. They simply can't afford to go. So no, I'm not worried about fewer US citizens coming north, because at one point, there were reports saying that there was actually more US citizens visiting Canada than there were Canadians going south. And that alone says a lot to me. With that being said, I know a lot of our US viewers did come up to Canada this year, and many of you have mentioned in the comments that instead of traveling within your own country, you chose to visit ours. So to those viewers, I thank you for leaving those comments.
Really, the only concern that we're hearing from a lot of tourism operators and so on was just about, crowds being too big, especially in certain areas like Banff National Park. Concerns about, too many visitors coming during those busy summer months. But big picture, especially the economic impact that this is having. We all know the economy is sputtering right now, and this is one sector that's really bucking the trend, providing a big boost to the national economy.
When the only problem in Canada's tourism industry is that there's too many tourists, things are going well. I actually did a video on this before where some people were complaining that the parking lots were full or the lineups were too long. I have to say, I don't agree with that at all. You have to look at the bigger picture here. Globally, we're in a fragile position because of the orange guy. And things could easily have gone the other way for tourism. We have other industries that are actually struggling. So if the biggest issue that we're facing is overcrowding parking lots and busy attractions, I'll take that as a win. To the people complaining that it's too busy or we can't find parking, try thinking beyond your own convenience. Look at what's happening around the world and realize how lucky we are to be thriving right now in tourism. All right, let's take a look at what global news had to say about this summer season.
From the sweeping Rockies to the roaring Niagara Falls and the quaintness of Peggy's Cove, Canada drew record crowds and cash this summer.
What we've seen there is Canada kind of being front and center in a lot of people's minds as an alternative to traveling to the United States.
New numbers from the Crown Corporation promoting Canadian travel show the tourism industry generated nearly $60 billion from May to August, a 6% increase year over year. As many Canadians avoided the U.S. and explored their own country instead.
Canadians just really changed their plans. So we knew that domestic tourism would be increasing quite substantially.
I'll admit, when I started this channel back in early April, I didn't think the US boycott would last this long. Back in February, when the movement really started getting traction, I figured it would fade out by April, but it didn't. It kept growing. And that's part of the reason why this introverted tech guy with 2 cats decided to start a channel in the first place. To remind people of what the US media and government really think about Canada. Now, almost 10 months in, the boycott is stronger than ever. And it honestly doesn't even take that much effort anymore to avoid the US. I mean, do you really want to be on vacation and see this kind of chaos happening around you?
Take my phone. You cannot. Oh, that's illegal, sir. That's freedom. Hey! 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 Stop that shit! Hey! You need to get off.
I was going to school. Get your hair!
What an entire fuck.
Now, let's not forget, we have US citizens down there that are actually cheering for this. So would you still want to go? It took me less than a minute to find these videos on TikTok. And there's thousands more videos like these on social media. What's interesting is that people who used to sit on the fence about Canada-US relations are starting to shift their tone as well. For some, it might not be about protecting Canadian sovereignty anymore. It might be more about safety. I've seen this firsthand through my own inner circle, and I'll probably share more on it in an upcoming video.
Canadians are refusing to go to the U.S.
There's still great love between the two countries.
But the numbers suggest Canadians and foreigners are falling out of love with U.S. travel. Of the nearly $60 billion generated, $44 billion was from Canadian travelers and nearly $15 billion from international ones. While Canadian hotels had an 81% occupancy rate last August, the highest since 2014.
It's a pretty stark contrast compared to what's happening in the US hotel industry right now. I know many of you have probably noticed the same thing. More travel ads popping up everywhere online, and even some in my own videos, which is kind of ironic. Lately, I've been getting a wave of emails from major hotel chains like Marriott, offering special deals and exclusive discounts. Because I haven't stayed at a Marriott hotel since before COVID, back when I was actually a gold member for all my work travel. But when they're suddenly sending me all these promotions out of nowhere, it kind of tells me one thing. They're digging through their old customer list, trying to re-engage anyone who ever stayed with them. So my opinion, that kind of shows that they're desperate.
Travel experts point to the Canada Strong Pass and the economic and political climate.
I don't want to say it's a bargain for visitors, but you know the dollar is relatively cheap as compared to the US dollar.
It's not the salt in the air or days that unfold at their own pace.
Atlantic Canada was one of the most popular summer destinations.
There's direct flights from Vancouver to Halifax now. We're seeing a lot, the connectability into the Maritimes via Toronto or Montreal or even Ottawa.
Buy Canadian and fly Canadian, with summer 2025 bringing fond memories to the country's tourism industry.
So what's my takeaway from all this? It's simple. We stood up for Canada, and our friends overseas did too. We took that 51st state rhetoric, those annexation threats, and all the disrespect seriously, and we protected our home. Not every single person joined in, but a good majority of us did. And that number keeps growing every single day. If you're still here watching, I am genuinely glad to share this video with you. Because yeah, my channel usually talks about a lot of doom and gloom coming from the US. And I've said I told you so more times than I can count. But it's nice to finally report something positive from our side of the border. So keep your foot on the gas pedal. Keep boycotting US travel. And keep skipping the US products. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button to help spread this message even further. And share it with your friends as well. And if you're still here and you want to see more of my videos, check out the other ones that are popping up on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.